caliber woman on the other line, Heidi Smith, and of course...
What a great song.
That's DeLon Thompson. He's a local Tucsonan country music star.
He's great.
He's hit the charts at #1 with some of his songs in Europe, but he's sort of an unknown commodity in Tucson, Arizona.
That was great.
I collect music of the gun. Have you folks ever heard the song The Guardian? It's the music I used to open the program with. I am the guardian of America, armed and free. I'll send you. I'll email you. Email me so I have your email address, and I'll send it to you. I wrote the song. It's on a commercial album called "I Will Live Free."
That's the one on your webpage.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's really it's great.
Oh well, then you got it on my webpage, so you already got it. I don't need to send it to you, but anyway, I'm not trying to promote myself. I'm trying to promote the ideas in the songs because I don't get a cent out of it. I didn't do it for money. I did it for freedom. So one of the things that we were talking about on the break and talking about mindset. How do you create the self-defense mindset? I'd like to hear it from a man's perspective and from a woman's. So you guys can, you're married, so you decide who starts first.
I'll go first.
Yes, dear.
I think the one thing to get across to anyone, and especially when I emphasize to women, if I get a woman that calls me up and goes, I'm interested in purchasing a firearm, learning how to use it, is, what we tell them is what wins fights is in your head and your heart. And that's truly whatever weapon system you decide to carry, whether it be like Teresa and having a knife, maybe that's what she has on her all the time, or if you choose a firearm, or if you choose other ways for self-defense. Truly the mindset is that your life is a gift, and it's worth saving. And I think a lot of people think that it's wrong to want to defend themselves, and what we really try to push here is that it's okay to want to defend yourself and your family. We're bombarded in this environment that you should, in this country, this, whatever you call it, generation, is that you should turn the other cheek. And if people even truly understand that scripture, they need to read it again.
It's talking about getting slapped, not getting stabbed.
It's really, your life is a gift, and it's okay, and you should be proud to defend yourself, that it's all right. So I think getting that across to people for us is the first thing to put in a defensive mindset, that it's okay to do this, and you shouldn't feel bad about it. So that's kind of my perspective on that.
Okay, Clint?
Most of it is, I think, basically, I call it the what-if game. So, for example, tomorrow, start keeping a 24/7 calendar. After a week, if it's a normal week, break it down in percentages, and then that'll tell you what you need to practice. As far as, like, if 30% of your time is in the car, 30% of your as far as mindset should be acclimated to how do I defend myself in a car. And I don't mean like always shooting. A lot of it is just driving. Leave a space between you and the other car so you can leave yourself an out. Wear your seatbelt. If you have a gun. My favorite one's, well, if I'm in a bad part of town, I'll put it under my leg. If you're in a bad part of town, don't go there. And if you're in a bad part of town, if you've ever been in a car wreck, the last thing I want is the gun out of my holster. So that I hit something and then it
becomes dislodged. Or even worse, get caught under the brake pedal.
Right. Most of it is a state of mind or a level of awareness and anticipation of deploying the gun. But the more that I think to process through, the less likely I am. If you look at a lot of people who make, what we later in the media call a mistake with a gun, like I shot my 3-year-old son down the hallway. They hadn't thought it through to start with. Well, I heard a noise and shot at a noise. Okay, well, did you ever think that was a bad idea to start with? They never had thought that through. So I think I'm mentally imaging, and I'm not like smart like college-educated people, but there's a terminology called mental imaging, and that I visually see myself defending myself. I visually see myself, drawing the gun. I visually, like you said, see myself having to use my left hand and a knife instead of my particularly right hand and a knife. So I think a lot of it is simply what makes you able to defend yourself is the thought that I actually would.
Speaking of people who are right-handed, do you work with the handicapped?
Yes, but when people first hear it, they are taken back. I've had people in wheelchairs. If I have them, I make them get out of the chair on the ground. If they have, for example, crutches like from an MS victim, I've had those. They don't consider themselves victims, but you know what I mean. They have that. I just take their steel sticks away from them and make them fight from the ground. And most of the time I make them drop to the ground if they're in some shape or form walking and fight from there. because they're going to be there anyways. And although it sounds really heartless and people get cranked off when you actually think about it, if I was going to fight somebody in a wheelchair, first thing I would do is dump them on the ground. So the bad guys will think the same way. So I teach them to fight in that format. Yeah.
You know, that's interesting. That's actually one of the questions. Another question that you walked into that I wanted to ask you anyway, and that is that I noticed on some of the photos on your website, you show people fighting from the ground, not only fighting from the ground, but fighting